judgment.
Yeah, sure. But it's like taking a 40-50% drawdown on stocks or portfolio. Sometimes you feel that it's like a mistake. In hindsight, then probably.
But you always, you know what happens? You always like, shit, I should have sold it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
Psychological.
yeah, it's always there. Yeah.
Do you invest only in US companies or do you have investments in Europe and
Do you
Japanese?
invest in Europe as well?
What
Not-
about India? India, you have
we can't because in India you have to register with the authority,
FP.
and we have to. And if you got a hedge fund, you can do this because you only have one entity. We have 500 accounts.
Are you using any AI tools to help with your writing?
AI?
Chatbot.
ChatGPT or
ChatGPT.
So yes, couple ways. The summarize, like if I look at there was a new article in Salon, I just hit summarize and it gives me a summary, and I want to see if I want to read more.
what tool is that?
ChatGPT does that. Yeah, there was I'm not AI expert, but as I understand the way ChatGPT works, they basically provide the back end, the engine, and then a whole bunch of other companies are building the front end on top of that. So there is a company called Summarize, I forget how it's that does like there is a app, there is a Google Chrome app that you just click and summarize that.
Gotcha.
My marketing people love it because I'll give a couple examples. Every time I write an article, it has to be posted on a podcast, on a website. Now they just load my article into ChatGPT and it says write a summary. And in just really this beautiful summary, and it's so there's a you can also like marketing people. Another way they do this, if they want to post it on social media, they put in ChatGPT and say, take out the best excerpts from this article, and it just suddenly so it's just
Aren't they worried they're going to lose their jobs if they continue doing that?
No, I think they actually become more productive. No. So that's.
But you won't require 4 marketing guys. One will.
I don't have that many more. So I already have a lean operation, so I'm not really.
How many people working
I was going to
for you?
ask, can you elaborate a bit more on the IMA? How big is the firm? How many analysts? What's their performance?
So I'm gonna do this, but with one premise. This is I'm not gonna. This is not a.
No,
I'm
this-
just
yeah,
This is not a
curiosity.
marketing because I don't want to mix the two, and So we have I always lose count. About 8 or 9 people in the company. We had 3 until last week. People in our global headquarters, and we have an analyst who just quit and he's going to start an insurance company, which is we're going to support him in this. But we have literally people all over the world. So before this, we had 3 people in our office. We're gonna have a 3rd one again because we're gonna hire somebody in operations. But my assistant Barbara is in Argentina. Our director of operations in Spokane, Washington. One of my analysts is in Kiev. God, I'm missing somebody. My marketing people, 2 marketing people I have. One is in Morocco, and one is in Serbia. And so I have another operation. We're gonna have 2 operations people in the office. So so we manage about $420 million.
Can you
400?
share some?
20.
What's your performance like over the last, say,
So
decade?
I'm not gonna talk about this. I really.
Yeah. No,
There is a-
Can you shed some light on your second book, Sideways Investing? What is that? I've not seen that book.
Have you read the first one, Active Value Investing?
No, first one.
It's
Because I
the
don't
2
think
books
it's
are the same.
available.
The 2 books are basically the same. So the
Same.
Active Value Investing, it's originally I started to write when she was born, 2005.
I was the inspiration.
She was the inspiration for the book. And it's basically a value investing book with a twist. And the twist was that the environment we are in, most likely going to be in, is going to be sideways. The market not doing this, but going sideways. How do you take a traditional value investment strategy and just for that. Then Little Book of Sideways Markets came out 2 years later after the active value investing, and all it is, it's my first book, rewritten and simplified for your neighborhood dentist. Not somebody who lives and breathes, value investing, but somebody who kind of curious about this, but may not know what price to earnings ratio is, this kind of thing.
Vitaliy, I had a question.
Yeah.
You've been a big Tesla fan of the car,
Yes.
not of the stock.
Yes.
But now with the tech correction in the last few months, do you think any of the tech companies are worth buying or coming to a value investing radar?
Yeah. Sorry. I was thinking about it yesterday. Actually, I don't know. Like, I have to go back now and build brand new models of Tesla to figure out.
Not necessarily Tesla. I mean general tech. Kind
The I think. Sorry.
You want some water?
No.
Some water.
Get me a bottle of mineral water.
It's okay. Anyway, sorry, I just took up. I think this meltdown will create opportunities, but I think the meltdown, my gut sense tells me it's far from over. We already start seeing layoffs, and I think they're going to continue. And I think, this sounds very cold, okay? But I think we need to go through massive layoffs because the hiring in Silicon Valley just got completely out of whack. You look at this company's income statements and you see the costs just skyrocket. The revenues went up too. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I think we're going to go through adjustment, and it's a healthy adjustment. And one thing that's really I'm very curious about is Twitter. And the reason for that because they just laid off 3/4 of their employees, and it seems to be actually doing absolutely fine.
Yeah, they're functional.
They're functioning, and they're coming out with new products. And you're thinking about it. You're like,
this guy's deployment.
You are CRM, right? Or you are Facebook, and you Google, and you start thinking, how many people actually? So I come at two stories actually. One is actually happened to us. So when IMA was tiny, we had, and it was going through transition where it was still run by the founder, and I was kind of in the beginning of running the company, but not really. And so we had two people in operations, and one person, her mom passed away, and she took a month and a half off. And while she was gone, nothing changed. Like everything just ran as good as and I'm like, and we were barely profitable at the time, and so that really mattered. And I realized, my God, we actually don't need her. She has nothing to do.
Yeah.
And I think people, a lot of companies are going through this kind of. They're looking at you look at their stock-based compensation and all these different things. I realize we are paying a lot. Like, where is all this productivity that technology is supposed to create, right? Like, if you think about Salesforce, and I don't know the company that well, but if you think about this for a second, so what they're saying basically, if you use our product, you become more efficient. Except they were using their product, and they're kind of not very efficient. Like if you look at their margins, they haven't.
Single digit.
Yeah. So there was something wrong there. Anyway, so that's.
Vitaliy, and how do you think about team building then? Like when you build your investment team, how do you think how many people are enough? Do you track number of scripts you have and then?
So you have two models basically. You have a kind of a team model, meaning what's a good way to explain it? You have a team model where it's kind of flat, or you have a vertical model.
Right.
Like, I personally think from IMA, the model that works is what I call octopus tentacle model.
So
I'm the octopus,
and
tentacles. Octopus and tentacles. I'm the octopus, and my analysts are tentacles. They help me to go deeper and wider, deeper and wider. The problem with this model is that it relies on me too much. Yeah, and so at some point, I'll need to do something about this. Not, I'm too young to worry about this yet. But at some point, I would need to figure out how to build a team that actually can go wide as well. But I find that such an incredible responsibility to manage somebody else's money that I just have a hard time, kind of giving it up, just delegating.
The question was more from how many analysts are enough. Like,
Well, this
how many businesses
we had one analyst for a long time, and then when the war in Ukraine started, I hired another analyst in Ukraine, and it came about kind of in a funky way. Like a friend of mine reached out to me who lives in Denmark. Said, "I know this guy. He's a CFA. He lives in Ukraine. He worked for the oligarch, and the oligarch skipped town, and he doesn't have a job." So we hired them at first. This was kind of my contribution to war, kind of to Ukrainian people, kind of thing. And then we discovered over time he's very good. So we had 2 analysts, and we had overcapacity. We didn't need 2, but we had 2. Then my analyst, the one I had for almost 4 years, he decided he wants to start, he wanted to take Warren Buffett's footsteps and start an insurance company. So he left, and I don't feel a need to hire another one. So it's just I'm kind of answering my question through my actions. So I think for me 1 is plenty.
So an octopus with 1 tentacle.
I just need 1 tentacle, exactly. And the reason for that, because we only have 25, 30 companies, and there is so much. The issue is there's so much time I have, to communicate to somebody else. So it's going to be probably better for us, if I'm honest.
How much time do you spend in terms of researching stocks in a day?
Probably, if 6 would be the top. 6 hours a
6
day.
hours.
Yeah, just what you realize is that you wanted to hear 10 from me, but the problem is just my brain can only handle so much.
I think 6 is also
6 is very good.
in my view.
Yeah, so the 6, it's 4 to 6. So it's it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And you'd find when I hit start getting 6 hours, my brain is starts shutting down a little bit.
Do you restrict yourself to a certain number of stocks, let's say 20 or 40? And what is your churn?
Our churn is very little. We have about 25, 30 stocks.
Vitaliy, you mentioned about models and valuation models and all that. So, I mean, do you guys do like a detailed DCF, or is it more like more of the earnings-based method?
We do both. We do combination of all the different
You do
things.
both.
Yeah. We on the portfolio management level, where we look at have all companies competing against each other. We do it based on earnings, and then 4 years out. I'll explain it. When we look at the individual companies, we also build DCF, and it's going to depend on the type of company, etc. Sometimes it's going to be detailed, sometimes it won't be. The whole point is trying to be vaguely right, not precisely wrong. So.
But given the US risk rate has been so volatile.
That's how why to give you the answer. So let me give you a couple examples. So if you read a scientific novel, okay, and scientific novels usually take place in a different world, right? Where the rules of this world kind of don't work very well, and so in the scientific novels you have to read them for a while to kind of to build the world, right? So It's the same thing applies to investing. If I'm analyzing income, just put it.
Vitaliy, I think just take a break and eat.
Yeah,
He's not had his breakfast.
You also have.
No, I had breakfast. Actually, I'm fine.
Just take a 5
That's not
minute
eating
break.
breakfast. I haven't eaten this much on a breakfast for a long, long time.
Take some rest.
I'm glad I'm eating feed in India. So good.
Hope you have enjoyed Indian food while you've been here.
You know, I really do, but I realize I'm going to take it.
Yeah, have you guys had any updates?
For Americans, it's very difficult to
It's the
eat it.
spice.
To eat a lot of it because it's just a lot of dairy.
Yeah.
It's actually
Bold, you need to be bold.
yeah, but it's really good. I would say it's fun to.
It's like the best place in India.
You written about one of the Indian places being your best places. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
You've written up one of your favorite places.
Hands down, there is one place so far.
Sorry.
Taj Lake Palace.
It's wonderful, yeah. Vitaliy, you have given some tips for husbands in your book. So please elaborate them. Some tips for husbands.
Husband. Tips for husband.
Tips for husbands. How to deal with their wife.
I think that keeping short is the best way.
I'm as expert on this as everybody else.
Mom.
I'm as expert on this as everybody else in this room, but
I think the way you deal with the wife is just not get married.
I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah. No, but I think the study Stoic philosophy a lot.
You are an external
Dichotomy.
Yeah. That's exactly right. They just realized there's so few things you can control, and your wife is not one of them. You know? So that's the only tip I can.
But I must tell you, the best intro that I could get, this was about 2 or 3 years ago, was from what you I don't know if I call it a book, but yeah, this.
Oh yeah.
Which you wrote? Yeah, I don't know how many of you have read it.
I've read it.
Yeah, it
What
was
is
the
that?
first decent
Tesla.
intro into
Tesla.
what Tesla was all about. Because when I saw Tesla, and then of course I went to the US and I saw one, but and even got to sit in one. But the problem is, so you're very prolific. I mean, you've written books from smaller ones like this to bigger ones. You keep writing these newsletters. I think one of your best newsletter that I can think of, or the email I can think of, is the one where you wrote how IMA is not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there is so much wisdom condensed in that just one email once you read it. So, is it just your morning routine? Because you're telling me you have this morning routine, you wake up and then you have all the extra time. How are you so prolific? I just find it hard to even write a letter to family and friends once in a while. How do you manage to do that? It's just a drive, I mean, it's a habit. Where is it coming from?
So, first of all, other than when I travel, I write 2 hours a day. Okay. Also, I write 2 hours a day, meaning it's not that I allocate time. I have a lot of practice. So you have a hard time writing a letter because you write one letter a year. I mean, you have very little practice, right?
That's true, yeah.
If you try to run one letter a day, in a year, it would take you a lot less time to write that one letter. So, just writing 2 hours a day, that's 700 something hours a year. So that's a lot of time. So I would argue I produce not enough content.
And the other thing related to the mailers is the paintings that your dad draws. I think your brother Alex also sometimes draws.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have those skills, or you do?
This one does, yeah.
Not at that level. Not at that level.
Your dad is amazing.
Thank you.
I think it's some of his paintings are so. If you keep just staring at them for a long time.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you must tell him that. You must tell him that you have fans all the way across.
Yes, indeed he does.
too.
Yeah, he's great.
Your mails are good because generally you write about Greek philosophers, Seneca and all those. Then you write a Western classical, not only about investing. Others I get mails from people like Howard Marks, only investing. Howard Marks memos and all come only investing, or great masters or whatever. Yours is a general thing which is more.
Well, Yes, to quote great Indian philosopher Freddie Mercury, there must be more to life than this. I'm sure you guys claim that he's Indian.
He is.
No, I'm just, yes, he should. I'm sure British don't agree with you.
But he is.
So, usually investing is a very personal journey, and it's more of an exploration of yourself and your characteristics, and which gets reflected in your investment decisions. And the journey which you would have walked on would be very different for someone else. I mean, you might have walked on the same journey, but the outcome might be very different in terms of how you think about businesses or stocks. So, just if you can talk a bit about how has this exploration journey been, and how did you figure out this is?
And I think you're absolutely right. Investing is a very personal journey, and the reason it's personal because it has to fit your personality. It has to fit your background and your I'll give you one example. So I had this guy. I had this guy reach out to me, and he said, "Vitaliy, I've been doubling into investing. I don't know which industry I should start with."
Coffee?
He said, "I spent last 7 years working for American aerospace companies." And you know what the answer is going to be, right? Yeah. So like, you know more about the aerospace industry than anybody else.
Sure.
That's probably a good place to start, right?
Yeah.
Because you like what you want to do. Like I was giving this analogy with when you invest like with a sci-fi, because you want to build this world, right? If I owned a company in the past, I've done the research. That world has already been built. I already built this world, right? So when I buy this company 6 years later, like Bill McKesson, I own this company 3 times before.
Okay.
So every single time when we buy it, it takes me literally 5 hours to get up to date. Okay, now if I was buying the reason I should not be investing in India, because to build this world for me, it's going to require an enormous amount of time.
Sure.
So if I invest in India, it would be in a very small amount, just because the amount of ignorance I have about this market is so huge. And the same applies to when you look at a new industry. It takes time to build this world. Right? Once I build it, the good thing about knowledge is cumulative. So when I come back to it in the future, it's going to take me less time. But I think this world building is kind of a good analogy, I think.
So, thank you.
So this is a small token from me actually.
Oh, thank you.
This is about a story about how the Indian IT sector in India came up.
Is it about Infosys or?
Yeah, no, it's about the entire IT industry.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm sure you love it.
Somebody asked me yesterday a question at the conference. Thank you.